Okay, so sorry, that video stopped. I had somebody at my door, so I had to stop it, and now we'll pick up where we left off, so number 20. Okay, I've distributed everything, so now I just combine like terms, and I start with my biggest exponent. When I start with my biggest exponent, that is m to the third, so a negative 6 and a positive 6 will cancel each other out. Then I move to squareds. Well, I have a 9m squared, and then there's no other m squareds, so I just bring that down. And then I move to, I don't need that one anymore, move to m. Well, there's no other m, so I just bring down plus 3m, so I don't need that anymore. And then the last thing is left is that minus 12. So this is now in standard form, and it's as simple as it can be. Okay, so going to number 22, I have 4x squared times 2x squared plus x minus 5. I have to distribute this first. So 4 times 2 gives me 8. And if I have an x2 and an x2, I add to get x to the fourth. And then 4 times, there's technically a 1 there, would give me 4. And 2 plus 1 gives me x to the third. And then 4 times negative 5 gives me negative 20. And I have to keep that x squared. I can't get rid of it. Sorry, I should move that up. Then I take the negative x and distribute it to this parentheses. So negative x times negative x to the third. You have to keep the negative sign because it doesn't cancel. And then 1 plus 3 gives me x to the fourth. And then I have to multiply again. This gives me negative 5. And I have to do x1 and x2 gives me x to the third. I multiply one more time, and this gives me a positive this time because a negative times a negative is a positive. And I keep that 3, and I just put the x on it. And then I bring down the plus 17. So now I'm combining like terms. So I look for my biggest exponent first, which is to the fourth. So 8 and negative 1 make a 7x to the fourth. And then I don't need those two pieces anymore. I move to the third. So a 4 and a negative 5 will make a negative 1x to the third. I don't need those two pieces anymore. I have this squared, and there are no other squared, so I just bring it down. Don't need that piece anymore. And then I have this x, so I just bring it down. And then don't need that anymore. And the last thing I have left is that plus 17. Okay, so for number 24, our last one, the most complicated one. And I'm going to do 26 with you. Okay, so 24, you have to start with this inside parentheses first. So we're going to do negative 5 times 3, which is negative 15. And then I just keep the AB because there's no letters to change it here. And then negative 5 times negative 2 is a positive 10, and I have to keep the A, and no, that's a B. I have to keep the B squared. Okay, that now comes out of parentheses, and I do still have this brackets with the 2A squared. This 4B is still on the outside, and it's plus 29AB squared. Now I distribute this 4. So 4 times 2 becomes 8, and then I go alphabetical first, so a squared would have to come first, and I keep the b because those two don't actually add together, so I just keep each letter. And then 4 times negative 15 becomes negative 60. Again, I just have to keep the a, and then a b plus a b becomes a b squared. And then 4 times 10 becomes 40. I don't have an a this time, but b squared and b becomes b to the third, and then I bring down plus 29ab squared. Okay, from here, you have to go alphabetical order. So you're going to look for the biggest A piece. Well, the biggest A piece is this A squared. So I'm going to write 8A squared B first. I don't need that piece anymore. Well, then I'm looking for another A piece. Well, I have this one and this one. So when we do negative 60 and we add it to 29, that gives me a negative 31, and I just keep AB squared. So I get rid of that, and I get rid of that. And then the only piece left is this plus 40b to the third. That's my final answer. Okay, so for number 26, the last one, and I want y'all to go ahead and just write omit over here on this trapezoid one. We're not going to find the area of that trapezoid. That's okay. To find the area of the shaded region, we're going to take the area of the big rectangle. So we're going to do 6x times 8x minus 1. And then we're going to subtract the area of the small one, which is 2x times 5x plus 3. Okay, so the first thing we have to do is our multiplication. So 6x times 8x gives me 48x squared. And 6x times negative 1 gives me negative 6x. I still have this minus sign. So 2 times 5, that gives me 10, and I have x squared because 1 plus 1. And then 2 times 3 gives me 6, and I have to keep the x. So now, since this is a subtraction problem, we have to take this piece and minus this piece. So what this means that you're doing is you're having to distribute that -1 like what we did the other day. So a -1 times 10x is a negative 10x squared. And a -1 times 6x is a negative 6x. The negative doesn't go to the piece in the front, so I'm just going to bring down 48x squared minus 6x, and then now I have minus 10x squared minus 6x. Now my x squareds go first because that's the biggest exponent. So 48 and a negative 10 make 38, and I keep x squared. And I don't need those two pieces anymore. And then a -6 and a -6 will make a negative 12x, and then that would be my final answer. Okay, so finished up the odds, and if you have any questions, ask.